Board of Selectmen, November 16, 2021.
Because Steve Saban is up Coal Road.
Oh, yes.
And he came home early because he didn't see a thing.
Well, you know, if it's cold, you gotta go out. And if it's raining, you get wet. And, you know, that's
If
the
you
way.
don't bring a raincoat, they'll vote
Now,
you.
what would you bring that for? I mean, that's, you
Yeah.
know, that's not even the point. That's not the point. Even the dog, even the dog.
We have Mike Marconi on Zoom for everyone.
Well, let Cheryl move
That'll
down.
be great, Cheryl, thanks.
Right.
Maybe Mike can see you a little better.
We all set? Are you okay, Mike?
Thank you, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Call to the order minutes of, November 1st and November 8th.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, you want to do the flag?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Colonel, will you lead us, please?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
For the minutes of November 1st and November 8th.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Manifest approval, $60,283.17 dated November 4th, 21, $1,067,431.55 dated 11/11/21.
I would imagine that, $1 million item, that's our, EP New England. Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't think we were spending that kind of money just on an odd week.
No, that's it exactly.
Okay, good. I'd move we approve that.
Okay, Michael, you second
I'll
it?
make the motion, or Bob can, either way, it's fine.
Yeah.
First I'm late, now I'm in the way.
That's okay. I'll move so you can have
Gosh, I'll sit right here.
in the middle.
Okay? We made a motion, seconded, all in
Bob
favor?
make the motion?
Huh? Bob made the motion, you seconded it.
Yes, they did, that's all set, good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Facility use. Gail Clanchester, the Seacoast Girl Scouts Town Hall, November 19th, gingerbread house making. Recreation Committee, Old Town Hall, December 12th, holiday party. There are two. Do them separately or do jointly?
We do them together.
Okay.
I don't see an issue with either one of them. Do you, Mike?
Mike, are you with us? He's frozen in space.
First time I've ever seen him silent.
He can't hear
Well, he might be able to hear you, he just can't talk.
you. He's in shock. He
We
looks
did-
good-
we-
He looks good horizontal.
We did lose the connection during the lawyer thing too, though.
It came right back, didn't it?
It did come back right away, but.
Boy, we just had a new router put in.
Recess here.
Want to recess or do you
No,
want
no,
to,
just.
you want to just move forward with,
Yeah.
with just approving the facility uses?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, is he back?
You there, Mike? You in favor of doing jointly the Girl Scouts and the Rec Committee, Town Hall? Facility use? All in favor?
Aye.
Hello?
Wait, who made the motion? Who seconded it?
He didn't, he didn't.
Can't hear you, Martha.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mike? Does your,
Looks like he's frozen again.
Yes, but
Oh, no.
you can hear
I
us?
got you now.
Okay.
Right. We're moving on to the, agenda item, Steve, Town Building Administration Budget Review. Welcome to your first one, Stephen.
Thank you.
So the board has a tab called Town Buildings?
Yes, we do. Criminal fire engineer and Highland Haven?
We've met, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yep. So, I'll be honest, I went to Martha and I said I'd like to try to keep this as simple as possible this year, just because I came to the town late. And I don't really know the buildings, I don't know the history behind the buildings. So I went through the budgets and really tried to keep everything as simple as possible. So, do you want me to run through each line item, is that how we do this here?
Whatever.
Great.
Okay, so, under town buildings administration, line 110 and 220, I really don't have any part of.
Right,
So contracted services, this appears to be for town hall, police station, old town hall, meeting house, and summer camp, it's cleaning the buildings. I've upped that a little bit to $15,000, just because COVID's still going on, there's some extra cleaning going on, and it appeared that with past history with a summer camp that goes on, there's even more cleaning that happens. We've been close with the $11,000 that we've had each year before, so I've just bumped that up to $15,000 just to make sure we cover all ends. Line 610, maintenance and supplies, I kept that at $4,000. We've been under that pretty much every year. I don't see any reason why we won't, although cost of materials are going up across the board, so I may get shot in the foot for that one. Equipment maintenance, the buffing machine, projectors and whatnot, I've kept that rate at 500. We haven't had any repairs done. If something small comes in, I'm sure we can handle it with that 500. 635 has been transferred to highway, 660 transferred, 740 is transferred, and historic restoration, unanticipated revenues, I don't believe we have any, so that's empty. So that line comes in at $19,501.
okay. Any questions?
Martha, is that doable for you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's fine with me.
We'll go on to the next page, town hall.
Okay, town hall, line 410, that is electricity. I'm keeping that at 11,500. We've been under pretty much every year, so I don't, unless there's a increase in electrical fees coming up that I don't know about, it's really kind of hard to sit here and tell you that we're good or bad. Heating, fuel, and natural gas, I am bumping that line item up to $10,000. There is already talk that those costs are going up somewhat of 30%, so there's a reason to increase it, and 30% of what we had is roughly $10,000, so I'm gonna shoot for the moon and say that's where we are.
Right.
Water, I'm coming in at 1,000. We seem to be under each year, under $1,000, so I think that's a fair number. Line 430, maintenance and repairs. This number, I'll be honest, is gonna change. I'm still waiting for some quotes to come in for adding cameras to, one camera in the main lobby facing the clerks, but I'm actually looking at a fishbowl lens, which will cover the entire lobby from one camera position. And it will be adjustable through a laptop, or whoever has control of the camera can actually spin it. So if there's a problem at one window, that camera can key right in on that. But for the most part, it will be a 360 view of the main lobby.
Great.
And just to give some detail on that, the town clerk had an audit completed by Division of Motor Vehicles, and they're the ones that are recommending that a camera be in the lobby. So that's why Steve's been getting those numbers.
And I'm also looking at adding a camera to the auditorium meeting area and this room here, so that we don't have to do Zoom through the phone like you're doing. So those quotes, I actually heard from one of the vendors today, and he's waiting for one final number to come in, so he's hoping within the next week or so he'll have that number for me. So hopefully in a couple weeks I can give you that overall number. I'm ballparking based on the first estimate that he gave me, that number will probably go up another $5,000 to be a total of $10,000 for for that total line item, and, that is also including encumbering some funds from this year's budget to cover painting of, the water damage in the main lobby and in the auditorium space.
Town garage.
Town garage. Electricity, I'm keeping at $4,000 again. I don't know of any rate increases that are coming, so, we've been pretty good with the $4,000 number. Heating and fuel, I bumped up again that 30% that I hear rumor of happening across the board, and I kept the water at 170. And maintenance and repairs, I'm keeping at 3,000, which covers all of the inspections and whatnot that we do as far as extinguishers and security and septic. I don't anticipate any repairs that are gonna be needed on that building.
Old Town Hall.
Old Town Hall. Telephones, we're staying at 455. I don't see any reason to increase that. Electricity, I went up in the electricity on that one, and I'm not sure why, because we've been over every year with the 2,400. We've been right around 26 constantly, so I just decided to go up to 3,000 just to cover all ends. Heating and fuel, I went up that 30% again to 5,700, and water, I'm gone up to 300 just because we've been over in prior years. Maintenance and repairs, I'm at 2,500. That is going to, again, we're going to encumber some funds from this year's budget and move them over to next year, where there's some painting that will be done to the exterior of the building. We have those quotes, and then again, the rest of the money that's in there is going to cover all of the security system, the fire extinguishers and maintenance that we typically do on a yearly basis.
Stephen, with that one door with the lead paint on it, any idea how expensive that's gonna be?
That is a minuscule amount, and I was told that the contractor will eat it.
Okay,
So
Good.
we'll work that out in the spring when it comes down to it. So.
thank you.
Meeting house.
Meeting house, telephone, we're gonna leave at 650. Electricity, I'm leaving at 650. Heating and fuel, again, I bumped it up that 30%, so 2,500 is your new anticipated expense on that. Again, we're gonna encumber some funds for painting of the door and the window fans. That's pretty much the green that you see on that building will be redone with encumbered funds. So 1,800 is gonna cover all of the pest control and maintenance that you've been doing on a yearly basis up to this point. I do have a quote that is coming to paint the entire exterior of that building. When I was over there, that the paint that's on there is bubbling off, which is an indication of moisture getting behind the paint. And when I poked one of the bubbles, I got wet, so it's definitely holding moisture. So I have the company that's doing the painting on the other buildings is getting me a quote to do the exterior of that entire building. Ballpark figure is gonna be probably around $12,000. So I may be coming back and increasing that number with a project, once I get that quote.
You afraid of lead-based paint on the exterior?
I'm not, the way that it's bubbling out like it is, it's latex, and latex does not have lead in it. So it's a project that's been painted in the last 15 to 20 years, so lead I'm not concerned about.
Good, thank you.
Everybody good?
Good.
Alright, fire station.
Fire station.
Electricity is gonna stay at 8,800. Heating heating I'm keeping the same. And I apologize, Martha, I have not had the chance to research why we're so far below what we've budgeted for. Fire department, and asking them, they have not changed anything that they did, other than the fact that the heating system was replaced a couple of years ago. So it may just be that much more efficient.
That's what it is.
And if it is, that's great, but just because I don't know, I've decided just to keep it at the 6,500.
And I concur with that.
I can offer too that the fire department runs around in t-shirts and they're always hot. They don't put the thermostats maybe as high as like an office would or
Okay.
an audience would.
Yep.
So I
So-
think that's part of it too, because they just don't get cold.
Could be Monahan too, that's a lot of hot air over there.
He fills the building up.
You know, what are you gonna do?
Either way, I think we just stay status quo with the 6,500 and see what next year brings us. I'm gonna try to cool pack down a little bit.
Yeah, no, but really, they don't run hot. They're always hot. They just don't get cold.
Water, I'm keeping the same at 650 unless somebody comes in with something else, but we've been doing pretty good with water cost over there, so. Maintenance and repairs, I'm coming in at $12,000. That's for the standard maintenance that we've always been doing, and I am asking for, in that $12,000, there's a quote for $1,225 to have the ductwork in the building cleaned. I have a quote for it, and I think that's a really good price for the ductwork that's in there. And based on the fact that they start the diesel engines inside the building before they take off, it's really a good idea to have that ductwork cleaned on a semi-annual basis.
When I was reviewing this as Bureau time, Steve, they always wanted extra bathrooms and like that. They only have one shower over there, if I remember.
And I'd like to discuss that. I've had conversations with both the chief and the assistant chief. They feel that some projects can be put on hold for a little while, so that, and part of the cost that, and I don't think it's in the price, Martha, but I wanna check on that, is I'm asking for $6,000 to be held for an architectural study of the building, for giving them either an addition or adding some space onto the building. With that conversation with the fire department, they agree that it doesn't make sense to move forward in doing any type of big projects to that building until we know what may or may not come down the road with an addition.
The only question I have, and when we did the rooms to clean the air and equipment and like that, the next big thing was we need showers, because the minute we come back, we strip, we gotta get in the shower and be clean. It's a health safety
So-
issue.
Is it the best scenario over there right now? No. Is it adequate for what they have and the number of calls that they go on? Yes, there are 2 showers there. So there is capability of the guys taking a shower. Is it immediately being done? No, but at the same time, when they get back from a call, they're not all stripping down and getting in the shower. There's trucks that need to be put back in service, so there's a way to separate guys continuing to work while somebody else goes in and takes a shower. So it's not-
That's a major concern, and I'm just a health safety, because that's
Yeah.
a big thing that we gotta.
I've discussed that with both the chiefs, and they feel that, again, this is a project, if there's a bigger project that could be coming that's going to encumber some of the bathrooms and showers, then put it on hold and wait. Let's see where the architectural study brings us.
The only thing that bothers me on this, and Annie, I'm glad you're here, is that addition or whatever, it's not gonna be this year or next year, I don't think. We're trying to keep the budget lean and mean. We've had to really scrape to hold the tax rate, what we did. And, this could be 2 to 3 to 5 years out before we do this. And I just wanna be sure that everybody's aware that this is not putting it off for a year, but this is, I'm concerned on health safety, that's all.
Stephen, I like the direction you're going in, and get an architect to design, and let's start talking about that as a town, if that's what we want. Cause as you look around, that building is obviously the one in town that needs the most help.
Sure.
So to get an architect to give us some idea of what it's gonna look like, and then we need to start saving for the future, for a date when we are gonna do that.
Yeah, I mean, the architect is really gonna kind of set your time frame. Is it a 3-year project? It is a 5-year project. And at that point, if it's a 5-year or a longer project, then maybe we look at the bathrooms and do that, because it won't be throwing money out the window just to have the building tore apart, just to redo it.
As a fire engineer, I can't speak for the board, but I can speak for myself. I would prefer to slow the train, do it once, do it right, even if it takes longer, because, they're making do over there. And when they get in showers after calls, if they are affected by toxins or something like that, they're pretty much in and out. You know, it isn't like a residential shower, so they can rotate through with 2 showers. And that works, so we can live with that, and we'd rather live with what we have and to embrace, do it once and do it right. That's just my opinion.
Okay, no, thank you, I just wanted to bring it up because I know it's, like the,
And I heard that too, and that's why I sat down with the chief and I had that conversation before I brought this forward.
Okay.
So,
next police station,
police station, electricity is gonna stay the same. Heating and gas is going up to 6,500, again, it's just that increase in cost that we hear is coming. And water I'm keeping at 700. Maintenance and repairs, I'm going in at $8,000. It's the general maintenance that you typically do, and I'm asking for, I don't have a quote yet, but I'm asking for an allowance of $5,000. When I walk through that building, there is several years of water damage and staining on the ceilings and the walls, and I would like to have that repaired and painted, if at all possible. Just to get it back up to a clean environment for them.
we waterproof that building, right, this year?
The building was waterproof last year, yes.
Okay, yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Brick was sealed, right?
It was sealed, yes, and you can see that it was sealed. The chief was actually asking me if I was a way that you could figure that out, and there definitely is. And I would say that building was definitely cleaned and sealed.
I knew we had programmed it, I wasn't 100% it was complete.
It was completed.
The Old Stone School,
Everything stays the same on that one. $350 for, actually I went down to the maintenance, just because there's no big projects and there's no reason for it to be at 5,500, so it went down to 1,000. That is a building that I will probably dive a little bit deeper into and looking at just to make sure that it does meet life and safety and it doesn't need anything big if somebody's gonna be going in there. But I've stayed away from that one so far.
Old Parsonage,
Old Parsonage, phone is at 320. Electricity is going up to 600. We've been over every year. I might have that backwards. It probably could have stayed at 400 because we haven't been over. But I'll look at that. But either way, $400 or $600, I think it'll work fine. And building and maintenance is $4,000, and that covers all of the alarm testing, the pest control, the fire extinguishers and whatnot. So that one really just kind of stays the same as well.
and the total budget for the year is about $100,000 less, $98,000 less than this year. Good job, sharp pencil.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Michael.
In your factor, Steve, we are putting a heating element in the old parsonage.
Yes.
What are we heating that with, propane
Yeah,
or
what
electricity?
is propane?
Propane, okay, is that in here, did I miss it?
Don't see it in the Parsonage. Putting a mini split in there with electricity and heat, right?
You know,
Electricity, I'm sorry.
is the
Yes.
parsonage getting, the parsonage is, they're both, all right, yes, the parsonage building is getting a mini split, which will be electricity.
And that's why the electricity is up.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Thank you.
okay, that's what I was thinking, because I was wondering, electricity going up, what's the cost for that?
Right.
It looks like it would be in line okay with it, I'm all set with it, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Well, anything else?
Then we have code enforcement, if the board doesn't mind, while we've got the building inspector captive. One of your tabs, code
There is
enforcement.
no way out of here, is there?
Trip on a run there.
It's just glass. You ready?
Yes,
Alright. First two sections I have nothing to do with, so I'm gonna jump down to line item 341, telephone.
let us get to that point. 341? Yep,
Yeah, the rest of it
This is the way
is
that-
salaries and health and
okay.
it is what it is. So telephone is at $648, that's where it's been, that's just a monthly stipend for using my cell phone for business throughout town. I have no problem with that one. Contracted services, it's $2,000. Dig safe, any third-party reviews that I need, or if I need to bring in an inspector that I'm not sure about, or for an inspection that I'm not sure about, that line item will cover the fees on that. $2,000 is fair. I really try not bringing in somebody unless I absolutely have to.
The electrical and plumbing is done with Regan and Hart, right? That's,
It is.
it's over and above that. It's
Yep,
something
that's
more complex.
part of this, that's actually covered under,
Town buildings.
is it town buildings where their stipends are?
Okay, yeah, no, I just,
Okay,
thank you.
yep, that's
I had
under,
heard-
but that will even cover, that cost will even cover, if there's something that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
That cost will cover somebody coming in to do that as well.
Right.
The best part is for any electrical and plumbing, I can call in the state to do those. They have state plumbers and state electricians on call for such situations. So there really is no cost if they run into a complication, unless it's a third-party review that the business owner is asking for, and that's covered by them. So there's really no reason to encumber any type of expense for that.
I had heard that, Bobby Hart, our plumber, is getting ready to retire, but his brother Kevin is taking over the business. Would you check in with Bobby and find out if Kevin in fact is
Actually, a conversation that I will probably have.
he is?
Kevin teaches apprentices
Yeah,
for years, so I know he's,
yeah, but, at what point do we switch, or do we appoint Kevin, or what? Or if Kevin's even interested? So, will you check with Bobby and see if
It's actually
Kevin's
a
interested?
conversation that I wanna bring to you guys at some point next year.
Okay,
If they're getting ready to retire, I am certified to do those inspections. You are not busy enough in this town to warrant a separate electrical and plumbing inspector. It's something that I could cover within the office. I mean, not to brag, but I'm coming from a town that did over 1,000 permits. You're not even close to that here. So it's possible between that contracted services line item, maybe going up a smidge, and me doing those inspections, that we could make it work without having to worry about having an electrical inspector or a plumbing inspector, which, to be honest, is a little bit more tedious for me, because I have to try to figure out what their schedules are to convey that to the business owner that's trying to get that inspection, and it's just really a time delay. So it's something that I spoke with Martha about it earlier, and it's something that I will bring up to you guys next year, because Mike Regan's also looking to retire at some point. So it just may be a good time to revamp the office and think about a different avenue.
very good, thank you. Thank
That's
you for coming
that's a
out to
good
our-
conversation for us to have then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So the big line item that's gonna change in my budget is, the dues and training. I'm a member of NHBOA, I'm actually the vice president of it, and even being vice president, I still have to pay those dues. Those dues are it's $7,500 to be a member, and then there's 7 monthly trainings that we do every month, and with that total cost, it's $320.
You said $75, right?
It's $75 to be a member of NHBOA,
Thanks.
and then the trainings on top of that bring the whole thing up to $320. With my certifications, I'm also at a point where there's not a lot of training offered in the state of New Hampshire for building officials on a higher level. We try to cater our trainings to the mid-grade for everybody, so that everybody can kind of get a little bit of the pot. So the biggest increase is cost for me to go out to the International Code Council annual conference. It's a conference that travels around the country every year. It's in a different location. They're actually trying to get it to go international, so it's gonna go outside the country at some point. It covers the registration fee, the hotel, and airlines. And next year it's in St. Louis, Missouri. I quickly went online and looked at what hotels were gonna cost and what airfare might be, and $2,500, I believe, will cover everything that needs to happen. In years past, the president and vice president of any organization that is a member of ICC gets free registration. So that number may come down a little bit if ICC continues to hold that policy. So that's the biggest increase in my budget, is just to get me that extra training. And it's really a great training because it's right in front of and it's put on by the people that create the building code. So it's asking the question to the guy that put it on the paper. And for me, there's nothing better than that.
Good, very good.
And given the depth of our commercial and industrial
Oh, yeah.
base here, I think it's critical that Steve gets the extra training.
Absolutely.
Mileage, there's nothing there. The town car is going for inspection. I'm trying to get an appointment with with a garage that will do the inspection, but it's like 3 weeks out to get a date to get the car in there, so I don't know if there's gonna be any maintenance or anything that needs to be done to it until that inspection happens. So maintenance stayed at 2,000, in mileage, there's nothing there because I hope to use the car, and if that's the case, then there is no mileage.
Super. Thank you. Anything else? Can you go now? Or we're gonna keep him here and suffer the rest of us?
No worries.
I think that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate you staying.
Thank you.
and helping. Yeah.
No problem. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Steve.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
To Fox Point.
We've had an inquiry from a resident asking about a large wedding and how many people could the point hold, how many people would be allowed. I checked with the fire and police chiefs and they tell me that they're not concerned about the number. This resident was looking at roughly 120.
Yep.
They just want to make sure that the road is cleared for the emergency vehicles. So
Yeah, because they've had big crowds down there at September Fest and like that would exceed that number.
right.
But the road is the parking that's gonna, would they be required to hire a police officer or a fire person to make sure that the things won't drive, oh, I don't know how they do it.
The selectmen could certainly require that, whatever you believe the stipulations should be, we will enforce.
I think we should check with the chief and find out, what's their threshold for comfort? What do they want?
So in our past weddings, what I usually tell people is the suite number is like 60, so I think that's about 30 cars. So if you can figure out, if you hire a trolley, if you have people park at your house or at a hotel and trolley people in, or just carpool and then you can have more people. It's really the cars, so.
What are we worried about? Sinking the point or?
No, it's just the car situation for the fire trucks.
Oh,
That's all it's really not the number of people, so it's really just the cars that are at Fox Point that are the concern. And usually before a wedding, they go down there and they mark it all out, where people can park, where they can't park.
Yeah.
But when I was talking to Martha, we had never landed on the number. That's what I have been telling people, if they're inviting 120, it will probably only be 100.
yeah, I don't have an issue with
That's,
100 or 120.
No.
I mean,
it's always been the cars, and I think
even
we have
150,
consistent.
if just long as parking wasn't a concern
Exactly.
Yeah,
and, I mean, there's a turnaround, so if the trucks, if we tell them they can't park on the road, so the truck can get down the road and get turned around, then I don't care if it's
Yeah,
120
and that's
or
what we've been
150.
doing, that's what we've always done,
Yeah.
we've always, it's the cars, I always tell the fire chief, police chief, when there are weddings, they go down there, they mark it out.
oh, okay.
I've never heard of a problem, but this was just a new, when I was asking Martha, I was like, I don't know, cause she was insisting on the 120, and I just wanted to make sure what I.
Yeah, I would just
people was
check with
okay.
Bilodeau and Hoyt and just make sure that, an increase in the crowd that size doesn't dictate that they add you know, a fire safety person or a police officer for traffic or crowd control, or whatever you wanna call it. But I don't see a problem with the increased number.
Great, and the second part of that question is the event end time. Do you have a time that you would expect the event to get?
6:30.
Well,
I can know I go to bed early.
Well,
Yes, it
we all know
does.
Ted requires selectmen's meetings to be over by 6 because he gets hungry.
I've always thought it was dusk. I don't know, but
Is
we
it,
can't
it's a
find that.
daytime wedding, or what time are they requesting?
They haven't said yet, they were just asking when could it end, and it's
I think that's
October 1st of next year. And so I looked up the sunset time, it's 6:27, October 1st next year. So that's what I said, no one's ever asked us before, cause it's always in the summer, and it's like till 8:30, so it's never an issue.
Could we ask them what time they want it?
Sure, we can ask them.
Yeah,
Pretty
there
late
isn't a lot of
September
lights
Fest
down
What's that?
How late does September Fest go?
Yeah. I mean, we stayed open
Into the dark,
for September Fest late enough to do fireworks,
Right.
so,
right, 9 o'clock anyway.
yeah.
That's
I
just
mean-
once a year too, I don't know, one year we had 12 weddings, I just don't know if that would be a lot, you
The
know.
closest house is the Wieners, and,
Okay,
you know, I mean, we can check with them, but I don't think
okay, alright,
it would be an issue.
alright.
Jeez,
Will do, thank you.
I was in weddings for 42 years. This is a bride that's at it.
Well, they didn't invite them, we didn't have a problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, is that the stipulation?
Invite the Wieners, then they don't have to worry about a noise complaint.
Yeah.
Good thinking, Ted.
Okay. Senator Shaheen's correspondence.
In your packets, you have the latest on this issue,
What tab are we talking
road naming.
about? Road name.
Road name.
We have an email from Michelle Coda of
Yep.
Senator Shaheen's office. They tried to get an appeal period open for us on the USPS issue to no avail, but they did say there was one further option, they could help write legislation and policy in DC for a new postal code and see if they can get that passed.
Won't be in a congressional record anyway. When the zip code will be there.
I say that we ask Senator Shaheen's office to help us out in any way that they can, if it's, you know,
Absolutely.
whatever.
That's great.
You know, you can't call them mailmen anymore.
Mhm.
They're rural route carriers.
Oh, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
Rural.
Okay.
Have about 3 beers and cans.
Rural route carriers. All right,
Okay. Now we get the Spalding Turnpike expansion.
the
And that's-
drainage.
Right,
Drainage.
inadequate drainage tab. So to brief everyone, of course, when we had that tumultuous rainstorm with over 2 inches of rain, the highway drainage appeared to be severely lacking. The new Spalding Turnpike drainage went down towards the custom pools and auto tech area off of Shattuck and flooded that entire area. I am told by the road agent and our town engineer that the drainage pipes, the culverts going under Shattuck, are not adequate enough to handle the flow from the new Spalding, and that's why the flooding occurred. So the Board of Selectmen have written a letter to Governor and Council asking for an immediate meeting because of this problem, and this office has contacted Jennifer Rezick and John Corcoran of DOT, asking them about addressing the problem swiftly. I have not heard back from them yet.
Well, Turnpike or Transportation was just bragging about getting $1 billion.
But,
I think they ought to be able to fix it.
yeah, the bottleneck is right there by Sprague, there's a culvert that goes right under the road. And I've been down and I walked from Country Curtain, Spalding Turnpike down. They get basins there, but they're overgrown, you know, they're inadequate for the thing.
And that's all I had to report
Okay.
on that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Executive office budget review, is that the next?
Yes. In your tab under executive office, you have our budget. It includes the stipends for the elected officials, fire engineers, health inspectors, selectmen, treasurer, deputy treasurer, and chairman of the trustee of the trust funds. It also has the wages for the 5 part-time staff members of this office, which are myself, finance director, project manager, that's Paul DeShane, and his work with donor towns, and the 2 administrative assistants. The overall budget has increased this year. We were at 329,000 back in 2020. We were able to take a dip last year, but we're back up to 328,900 this year.
That's only $6,000
Over last year,
over
and
last year.
pretty much the same as 2020.
And if you give back your stipend, we'd be under.
I'm thinking of it. Just thinking. Not accurate.
I'm just saying, how much do you earn?
Yeah. Well, you get me up to minimum wage.
We work for less than minimum wage.
Okay. Any action we have to take?
Is there anywhere to cut in there, Martha?
You'll probably notice that I took a significant cut to the engineering line. We were at 20,000 and I brought it down to 5,000. Most of the engineering services were highway engineering, and it didn't make sense for it to be within the executive office budget. So that's taken up in the contracted services line of Len's budget.
Okay.
I'm glad to cut wherever. As the board knows, I used to be full-time. I've cut my hours down to part-time. Finance director is part-time. That helps us save on wage and benefits that would be in the range of $160,000.
Computer expenses, we're at 22. I think we should start looking at it. The fire station, police station, us, we all have different vendors for tech support. I think we all need to, we need to get one tech support for, move towards everybody being on the same thing. I think that there could be some economy in numbers there. Next time you have a staff meeting, I know the fire likes theirs, I know the police likes theirs, and they each have their individual reasons for liking it. And I'd certainly want to hear from the library. I know they have a lot of online services, but after this threat assessment that we're having done, I think in the capital improvement plan for the future, I think we ought to look at moving towards a more consolidated approach.
Any other questions on this one? Legal budget.
We might be able to cut executive office supplies too. We'll take a hard look at that. We put in the same as last year, 10,000. And the numbers that you see there are through August 31, but we'll get back to the board on that line and the rest of the budget. I'm sorry, Ted. Regional associations?
We
No.
Oh, sorry,
Legal.
legal, thank
Right,
you.
that's the next one on the list.
Didn't we get an email asking us to, cancel our regional associations?
Yes. Sue Smith,
Right,
is it every year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, where's that item?
Next tab down. Wanna do that one next?
Oh, regional association, we're not doing that one yet? Okay, we can talk about that when we get there.
Okay, fine.
then on the legal tab, you'll notice finances and assessing is first, you've already done that, but legal is at the bottom of the page and it goes on to page 2. Last year you had $30,000 in general services, but we believe we can handle just 10,000 in that line. The Donahue Radigan line is requested at 70,000. We're gonna get up to 70 this year between all of the power plant
Right.
lawsuits and union negotiations, etc.
Boy, it says you one's making any money off of this.
They're down, the legal. Okay, now we're in the regional. Right?
Right on.
Oh, insurance first, that's kind of dictated.
Right, and the board has reviewed insurance before it just falls on the same page as
Right.
regional.
Regional is,
Eleanor sent out a survey to all of the associations asking them about their, how many people they serve in Newington.
that's interesting.
I think it's really an important part of this whole, I think a lot of people believe we just donate to these places, and what it actually is, it's very specific numbers about how many Newington residents they serve every year. Like on Meals on Wheels, I reached out to them and I said, what are you asking for in 2020? She goes, we didn't serve anyone in Newington last year, so 0. So if they're not serving anyone in Newington, they don't ask for money, the majority of them.
The numbers that you came back with, the services we did.
Yeah.
Is kind of shocking into some of the,
I was shocked also, yeah.
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 I mean, you know, affluent community and,
Yeah, I heard that request about, you know, ending these, but I find value in them.
Oh, I think when I saw the numbers, I was like, I can't believe that they're only asking for that much.
yeah,
That was my reaction.
the only one that I'm glad Dennis is hunting, but Coast, they've cut their services. Have they cut any of the Newington routes? They've advertised and like because I think of COVID, because they can't get people and they can't do things, but if they're cutting the services, I just wondered, has it affected the transportation to Newington? Probably not, because it's a main line.
No, it has not affected Newington,
Thank you.
and I've just heard that in my home.
Yeah, that's why
And you know, when you look at it, Coast is 80% of that,
oh, yeah,
that number, but, the first one to say, public transportation is not a moneymaker. He told us that the other day.
But it's the only way people get from there to here to go to work.
Yep.
If they're not working, it's a domino effect of a larger problem.
well, and it also brings shoppers to the malls.
Yep.
And they're working too, the students from UNH,
Yep.
down comes down here.
Yeah, so
Yep.
there is a
We don't
downstream
realize
effect.
the spin-off that.
Right. And they also handle disabled people.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know,
yes,
people that don't have a car or don't drive, but if you can't, there's don't and can't, there's two sides of it.
right. Michael, have you got anything to say?
Not much, Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to take care of my throat a little bit, everything looks good to me so far.
Okay, thank you. Speak up, please.
Okay,
We have moved, One Sky out of the miscellaneous charities because for the past at least 3 years, the selectmen have funded it under miscellaneous, so we just gave it its own line.
What is One Sky?
That is, assist those with development disabilities or acquired brain disorders. Newington residents served too.
And they are another example of one that never asked for any money, and then they took on a Newington resident or two, and then they request to be funded.
I know about One Sky, if you're interested. What they do is they work one-on-one with adults who have aged out of the school system.
Yes.
And then they need integration into the community or supervision or life skills.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next we go to debt service. What are those candidates here?
Debt service has decreased this year. Of course, we're through with the fire truck lease purchase payments. That's the 2013 truck. And we're left with the SCBA payments and ambulance equipment payments. Oh, I take that back. Ambulance, we finished that too. So we,
Final payment in 2021, that's right.
thank you, so
Final
we're
payment,
done with the ambulance equipment.
Right.
And we've just got the SCBA left, 27,000 for the total budget, so that's down from 111,000 this year.
Michael, we didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
That's all right, it's just, that was the, final payment on the ambulance.
Right. Okay. Good. That's the agenda item. Anything else we have to add on here, Martha, that,
Yes,
we got a lot of stuff to
the board has in your packets in the back pocket 2 yellow and blue summaries that I wanted to go over with you, and also to talk briefly about the COLA. The summary sheet, which is your yellow, reflects all of the budgets so far, and this is draft. Cheryl and I want to make sure you know that we're still working on this. We're working with the fire department on the final numbers for the union warrant article, and but as you can tell, when you look at the bottom line of this budget, under the page that has total all warrants at the bottom, we have roughly about $400,000 of an increase this year. If we want to see the tax rate stay the same, we're going to need to do some serious cuts. I would recommend to the board that you look for help from all the departments and possibly send a letter out to all of them asking for them for ideas of how we could possibly cut this budget in order to keep the tax rate stable.
It's an excellent idea. I think that most of the departments last year tightened their belts and did a good job, and I think they'll do it again. Well, this is a tough year with when we had to pay out to the utilities and keeping the rate as low as it's good, because we did spend an extra $1 million out of the treasury for the EP.
Right.
No, I think that'd be good, and I think there's a good cooperation around it. I hope you do.
A letter out to all the departments, asking them, and let them know we're looking to trim that much in order to keep our tax rate where it is, where it's been set. And if we could, get their cooperation, that would be appreciated.
I concur with Bob on that, Martha. I think that that's a good idea. I mean, I think everybody should pitch in
there are items that could be delayed just for a year.
Yeah,
Right. Right, I agree.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
On the heels of that, I did want to talk to the board about the COLA. I've given you a sheet, it's a blue sheet that lists all of the COLA numbers for 2022. The Social Security COLA is of course at 5.9%, but in speaking with you individually, it sounds like the board might be, oh, let me just add, I've received emails from different towns and what they are proposing. And the average is right around 3% for cost of living adjustment in the towns I've seen.
You know, we've been talking all along about, the 2% COLA, but, I think, you know, our employees are our most vital resource, and I think, based on the numbers you've given us, I think the 3% one, is appropriate. And I'd like to move forward with the 3%, and then look for savings elsewhere rather than from our employees.
Michael, your opinion on this, please?
I concur with Bob. I think that the 3% is the value that's going to most of the towns. So I think let's stay with that policy. I think that's fair enough.
Is that a motion and a second?
I'd make my motion, we go with the 3%.
You second it, Michael?
Yes, I'll second it.
Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
And Cheryl and Martha, thank you
Yeah,
for crunching these numbers.
this was
I find great value in the way you crunch those numbers for us, it helps us,
Thank you.
thank you.
She's been slaving away on that. You should see the spreadsheets.
Okay,
I do have a couple more
Yeah.
items, thank you. Yeah. The Air Force has requested that they be allowed to take soil samples from the transfer station and the fire station. And I would ask the selectmen to tread lightly on that issue. I am not in favor of, I do not see the value in the Air Force taking soil samples around these facilities.
well, they're picking our most vulnerable pieces of property that the town owns.
What's their goal?
It wasn't stated in their letter.
Their goal is to shift the blame to you. That's what that is.
That's exactly right, Michael. They're trying to say that we contaminated some of the soil, but they forget that 100 yards up the road is where the fire station was. They sprayed all the chemicals, contaminated all the earth. It's in New England. They wanna do something. They wanna do more testing, wanna go down the brooks and streams and some of the fields.
Exactly.
I'm not in favor of this.
So how do you want to respond, Mr. Chairman?
Pardon?
How do you want to respond to them? You want to just tell them we're not going to do that? I mean, the Undersecretary of the Air Force has never got back to us on the comments we asked him about. So we're not going to be too friendly with him, I don't think.
Right, no, I would just say it, I would just decline, say they would decline.
And that's the advice of John Radigan as well.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, what our lawyer said, and that was to decline.
Yes, respectfully decline.
Excellent, do that, that's
Yeah,
what I
fine
said.
with me. That's good. Do it respectfully.
Thank you.
They're up to something.
We also received this morning a email, or yesterday afternoon, from the town planner. They have learned of a section in the Newington zoning ordinance that needs the board's attention. It's section 4C2 of the Newington zoning ordinance. And they're asking that the selectmen allow the surety for the Shackford subdivision conditional use permit for construction activities in the residential zone to be for the total surety for all infrastructure. And I would just recommend that the security be in the form of either cash or letter of credit.
I will make the motion that in accordance with section 4C, paragraph 2 of the Newington zoning ordinance, I move to allow the surety for Shackford subdivision conditional use permit, stop laughing, for construction activities in the total security for all infrastructure. Security to be in the form of cash or letter of credit.
The second of that, Michael?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
That is all I
We got a letter from
have,
DOT?
Yeah, what's this,
Huh?
what's DOT?
You can hold the hand up,
Oh,
want that
the
tonight?
sale of town land, right?
Is this town land?
I'm sorry,
State.
state land.
State, okay.
Well, we just received it, I think we ought to put it off for another meeting so we have a chance to review it and look it over.
I'd also like to send it to the planning board, where they're the land use board. Before we do anything with it, let's send it to the planning board, they're our land use board. Let's get an opinion from them on what we should do with it.
That's all.
I concur with that. I concur with that, Mr. Chairman. Let them
The
give us some
motion
advice
made and
on what they
seconded,
think we should do.
and we're all set. Thank you, Michael.
Well,
And there wasn't something on the General Sullivan Bridge I saw somewhere, I don't see it yet. Was something was supposed to get back to General Sullivan Bridge?
They had asked for the board to sign their memorandum of
Right.
agreement, you declined, and they went ahead and moved forward without the board's signature. The most that they're still offering Newington is the $150,000 to
Right.
revitalize the depot.
There was a lot of discussion, I've had a lot of discussion with members of our community, and the members of our community are in favor of saving the rail depot, as many of us are. What a lot of members of our community are not aware of is what the cost to us as taxpayers would be. The building, we had an assessment done on the building, just to get the building secured is $450,000 minimum. The state is offering us $150,000, so if we accepted that, we would put the extra $300,000 onto our taxpayers. We're trying to cut, so we're not over budget. Then, if we accept that property, we accept the shoreline mitigation. Now, the shoreline mitigation we did on Fox Point 20, how many years ago? We spent in excess of $400,000 for a short piece of shoreline. We've got a long piece of shoreline that could cost us in excess of 2.5 million. So 300,000 and 2.5 million. You know, if we accept that, we could be accepting the liability of a $3 increase in our tax rate, not a 9-cent increase. So that is why the board has taken the position that we have with the state. And I just want to say that publicly on record that, you know, we need to protect the taxpayers of the town of Newington. We understand the historical significance. And, you know, I read that article from the historic, from the state, and the 8 places that need to be saved. If the state's telling us they need to save that, you know what? There's 1.2 million people in this state. So if every one of them gave us $2, we could afford to do that. But they're asking the 800 people that live in Newington to save something that the rest of the state wants. Well, if the rest of the state wants it saved, then I say the state should provide us more resources than what they have. That's
Makes sense.
all I have to say on that, Mr. Chairman.
Well spoken, well
Thank you.
said, we don't think we need any encore.
I concur.
All right, anything else we got to talk?
No, I think we covered everything.
good, thank you for all the information you supplied, very, very
We're
helpful
pull
for
it
us.
together, I have to go to Martha. She's walking me through it.
She walks us all through. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, unless you got anything else, Mr. Blanca, you came a long way tonight.
I know, I know we're getting close to your supper time, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Michael?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you all, thank you, Ann. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. That was a good report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You feel better, Mike?
Thank you. See you later.
Bye, Mike.
I am